The Tao Te Ching, Ancient Wisdom for Modern Life. Introduction. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. These enigmatic words open one of history's most profound philosophical texts, a 2,500-year-old book of just 5,000 words that has transformed countless lives across millennia. In a world where we're drowning in information yet starving for wisdom, where we chase success only to find emptiness, where technological connection has created unprecedented social isolation, what if the answers to our modern crises were written thousands of years ago by a mysterious sage named Lao Tzu? Welcome to this exploration of the Tao Te Ching, the foundational text of Taoist philosophy that continues to challenge and inspire millions worldwide. Today we'll discover how this ancient Chinese wisdom might be exactly what you need to navigate the complexities of 21st century life. The problems and solutions. You've felt it, haven't you? The exhaustion from constantly doing, achieving, competing, the anxiety from information overload, the emptiness despite material abundance, the disconnection from nature, from others, and from yourself. These aren't just personal struggles, they're the defining crises of our era. The Tao Te Ching offers a radical alternative to our modern paradigms. While our culture celebrates action, ambition, and accumulation, this ancient text reveals the power of non-action, simplicity, and letting go. Where we value knowledge, it prioritizes wisdom. Where we seek control, it teaches the strength in yielding. This isn't just philosophical theory. Research increasingly confirms what Lao Tzu knew millennia ago. Mindfulness reduces stress and improves health. Simplicity enhances well-being. Compassion strengthens relationships. Harmony with nature sustains us. Today, we'll explore 10 key themes from this remarkable text and discover practical ways to apply its wisdom in your daily life, transforming not just how you think, but how you live. The Tao, the fundamental principle. The foundation of Taoist philosophy is the concept of the Tao itself, often translated as the way. But what exactly is this mysterious Tao? The opening lines of the text immediately confront us with paradox. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. From the outset, Lao Tzu acknowledges that language and conceptual thinking cannot fully capture the ultimate reality. The Tao represents the fundamental nature of existence, the underlying pattern and principle governing all life. In chapter 25, Lao Tzu describes it further. There was something formless and perfect before the universe was born. It is serene, empty, solitary, unchanging, infinite, eternally present, the mother of the universe. This primordial force isn't a deity or creator separate from creation. It's immanent within all things. Unlike Western traditions that often emphasize transcendence, the Tao exists within the natural world, not beyond it. It flows through mountains and valleys, through animals and humans, through governments and institutions. As chapter 34 tells us, the great Tao flows everywhere. All things are born from it, yet it doesn't create them. It pours itself into its work, yet it makes no claim. Modern science offers intriguing parallels to this ancient wisdom. Quantum physics reveals that beneath the apparent solidity of matter lies mostly empty space and patterns of energy. Ecological studies show how all living systems are interconnected in complex webs. The Tao anticipates these discoveries, pointing to an underlying unity beneath apparent diversity. T. Virtue and power. The second key concept in the Tao Te Ching is T, typically translated as virtue or power. This isn't virtue in the moralistic sense we often think of in Western traditions. It's more like integrity or alignment with the Tao's natural way. Chapter 51 explains, the Tao gives birth to all beings, nourishes them, maintains them, cares for them, comforts them, protects them, takes them back to itself. That is why love of the Tao is in the very nature of things. It represents the manifestation of this Tao in individual beings and actions. Unlike conventional understanding of virtue as rule-following or moral perfection, Taoist virtue emerges naturally when we align with our true nature. Chapter 38 contrasts this natural virtue with forced morality. A truly good man is not aware of his goodness and is therefore good. A foolish man tries to be good and is therefore not good. This perspective revolutionizes our understanding of ethics. Rather than imposing external moral codes, true virtue flows from inner harmony with nature. When we recognize our connection to all things through the Tao, compassionate action arises spontaneously rather than through obligation or fear. In leadership and relationships, Te manifests as authentic influence rather than domination. Leaders with strong Te inspire through embodiment rather than enforcement. Their power comes not from control, but from alignment with natural principles. Wu Wei, non-action and natural action. Perhaps the most counterintuitive yet profound concept in the Tao Te Ching is Wu Wei. Wu Wei, often translated as non-action or effortless action. In our hyperactive, productivity-obsessed culture, this principle offers revolutionary insight. Chapter 37 expresses it beautifully. The Tao never does anything, yet through it all, things are done. This isn't advocating laziness or passivity, but a different quality of action. Action that arises naturally without forcing, striving, or interfering with the natural flow of things. Think of a skilled athlete in the zone, performing complex movements with ease and flow, or consider how a seed grows into a plant without strain or effort. It simply follows its nature. Wu Wei suggests aligning our actions with the natural tendencies of situations rather than imposing our will against the grain. The text illustrates this through natural metaphors. Chapter 8 compares the highest goodness to water. The highest good is like water. Water gives life to the 10,000 things and does not strive. Water exemplifies Wu Wei by naturally flowing to the lowest places, taking the path of least resistance, yet over time reshaping even the hardest stone. This principle challenges our cultural emphasis on control, intervention, and constant doing. Modern research on flow states, decision fatigue, and creativity support the value of this approach. Studies show that our most creative insights often come when we stop actively trying to solve problems. Great achievements frequently emerge not from forced effort, but from attuned engagement. The Sage, embodiment of Taoist wisdom. Throughout the Tao Te Ching, the figure of the sage emerges as the model of one who has fully integrated the text's teachings. This sage isn't depicted as otherworldly or superhuman, but as someone who has simply returned to natural simplicity. Chapter 22 describes the sage's approach. Therefore, the master remains serene in the midst of sorrow. Evil cannot enter his heart. Because he has given up helping, he is people's greatest help. This paradoxical formulation challenges conventional understanding of helpfulness, suggesting that non-interference often serves others better than well-intentioned meddling. Unlike conventional heroes who assert their will and overcome obstacles through force, the Taoist sage accomplishes through yielding. Chapter 66 explains, all streams flow to the sea because it is lower than they are. Humility gives it its power. If you want to govern the people, you must place yourself below them. If you want to lead the people, You must learn how to follow them. The sage embodies the principle of Wu Wei in all actions. Chapter 2 tells us, the master acts without doing anything and teaches without saying anything. Things arise and she lets them come. Things disappear and she lets them go. This remarkable capacity to allow natural processes to unfold characterizes the sage's interaction with the world. This ideal challenges modern notions of leadership and accomplishment. Rather than imposing control, the sage facilitates natural development. Rather than claiming credit, the sage completes work and then steps back. This approach fosters sustainability and harmony rather than the boom-bust cycles created by ego-driven leadership. Paradox and duality, yin and yang. The Tao Te Ching frequently employs paradoxical statements that challenge conventional either-or thinking. These paradoxes reflect the complementary nature of reality expressed through the concept of yin and yang, the interplay of seemingly opposite forces that actually complement and create each other. Chapter 2 illustrates this principle. When people see some things as beautiful, other things become ugly. When people see some things as good, other things become bad. This insight reveals how our categorizations and judgments create artificial separations in what is actually a unified whole. The text explains how these dualities emerge from unity. The Tao gives birth to one. One gives birth to two. Two gives birth to three. Three gives birth to all things. All things have their backs to the female, yin, and stand facing the male, yang. This cosmological account describes how differentiation emerges from the undifferentiated Tao. Unlike Western philosophical traditions that often seek to resolve paradoxes through logical analysis, the Tao Te Ching embraces paradox as reflecting the true nature of reality. Chapter 78 offers examples. Nothing in the world is as soft and yielding as water. Yet for dissolving the hard and inflexible, nothing can surpass it. The soft overcomes the hard. The gentle overcomes the rigid. This perspective on duality offers profound psychological insight. By recognizing how strengths contain weaknesses, how gains involve losses, and how apparent opposites actually define and create each other, we develop a more balanced and integrated approach to life's complexities. Simplicity and moderation. In our era of excess, complexity, and constant stimulation, the Tao Te Ching's emphasis on simplicity offers revolutionary wisdom. The text consistently advocates returning to natural simplicity as the path to harmony with the Tao. Chapter 80 paints a compelling picture of a simple society. If a country is governed wisely, its inhabitants will be content. They enjoy the labor of their hands and don't waste time inventing labor-saving machines. Since they dearly love their homes, they aren't interested in travel. Though the next country is so close that people can hear its roosters crowing and its dogs barking, they are content to die of old age without ever having gone to see it. While this may seem unrealistically utopian or even primitivist, the underlying principle remains relevant. Contentment arises not from accumulated possessions or experiences, but from appreciating what's directly present. Chapter 33 states, "He who knows others is wise. He who knows himself is enlightened. He who conquers others has physical strength. He who conquers himself is strong." The text identifies simplicity as one of the three treasures of Taoist philosophy, alongside compassion and humility. This simplicity extends beyond material possessions to encompass desires, knowledge, and social relationships. Chapter 19 advises, "Give up learning and put an end to your troubles. Show the unadorned and embrace the uncarved block. Reduce selfishness and have few desires." Modern research increasingly confirms the wisdom of this approach. Studies on voluntary simplicity movements show improved well-being through reduced consumption. Psychological research reveals that material accumulation beyond basic needs rarely increases happiness. The minimalism movement, digital detoxing, and tiny house trends all reflect contemporary rediscoveries of this ancient wisdom. Governance and leadership. Though written millennia ago, the Tao Te Ching's insights on governance and leadership remain remarkably relevant. The text dedicates considerable attention to political philosophy, offering a vision starkly different from authoritarian models. Chapter 17 describes the ideal ruler. When the master governs, the people are hardly aware that he exists. When his work is done, the people say, "Amazing, we did it, all by ourselves." This radical approach to leadership suggests that the best governance happens almost invisibly, facilitating rather than controlling. Unlike political philosophies that emphasize control, the Tao Te Ching advises minimal intervention. Chapter 57 observes, "The more prohibitions you have, the less virtuous people will be. The more weapons you have, the less secure people will be." This insight challenges the assumption that more rules and stronger enforcement create better societies. Chapter 60 offers a striking metaphor. Governing a large country is like frying a small fish. You spoil it with too much poking. This simple image conveys profound wisdom about the dangers of micromanagement and excessive intervention in complex systems. These insights apply beyond formal governance to leadership in organizations, families, and communities. They suggest that control-based leadership creates resistance and dysfunction, while facilitative leadership aligned with natural tendencies fosters harmony and sustainable outcomes. Modern management theories increasingly reflect these ancient insights. Concepts like servant leadership, distributed authority, and self-organizing teams echo the Taoist approach. Studies show that controlling management styles often produce short-term compliance but long-term resistance, while more facilitative approaches foster creativity and engagement. Attitudes toward war and conflict. The Tao Te Ching adopts a decidedly anti-war stance, viewing conflict as fundamentally misaligned with the Tao. This perspective remains deeply relevant in our conflict-ridden world. Chapter 31 states unequivocally, "Weapons are the tools of violence. All decent men detest them. Weapons are the tools of fear. A decent man will avoid them, except in the direst necessity, and, if compelled, will use them only with the utmost restraint." This position contrasts sharply with traditions that glorify martial prowess. The text recognizes that victory through force creates lasting resentment. Chapter 30 warns, "The master does his job and then stops." He understands that the universe is forever out of control and that trying to dominate events goes against the current of the Tao. Because he believes in himself, he doesn't try to convince others. Because he is content with himself, he doesn't need others' approval. Because he accepts himself, the whole world accepts him. Rather than celebrating military triumph, Lao Tzu offers a different vision. A good soldier is not violent. A good fighter is not angry. A good winner is not vengeful. This approach to conflict management extends beyond literal warfare to all forms of adversarial relationships. Chapter 69 suggests, "The generals have a saying, rather than make the first move, it is better to wait and see. Rather than advance an inch, it is better to retreat a yard." This strategic wisdom of yielding rather than confronting directly has influenced military thinkers like Sun Tzu and finds application in fields from negotiation to martial arts. In personal conflicts, these principles suggest finding harmony through yielding, rather than confrontation. By understanding the interconnected nature of all beings through the Tao, we recognize that harming others ultimately harms ourselves. Knowledge and wisdom. The Tao Te Ching draws a sharp distinction between conventional knowledge and true wisdom. In our information-saturated age, this distinction becomes increasingly valuable. Chapter 47 offers a striking perspective. Without opening your door, you can know the whole world. Without looking out your window, you can see the way of heaven. The further you go, the less you know. This challenges our assumption that accumulating information and experiences necessarily leads to wisdom. The text suggests that wisdom often involves unlearning conceptual frameworks that separate us from direct perception. Chapter 48 explains, "In the pursuit of knowledge, every day something is added. In the practice of the Tao, every day something is dropped." This paradoxical formulation indicates that wisdom involves subtraction rather than addition, removing filters that obscure clear seeing. Chapter 71 states, "Not knowing is true knowledge. Presuming to know is a disease." This perspective doesn't devalue genuine understanding, but challenges intellectual pretension and the illusion of certainty. It encourages intellectual humility and openness rather than rigid attachment to conceptual frameworks. This skepticism toward intellectualism directly contrasted with Confucian emphasis on scholarly learning. While Confucianism valued book learning and intellectual development, Taoism suggested that direct intuitive understanding often surpasses intellectual knowledge. Modern cognitive science increasingly confirms this distinction between conceptual knowledge and embodied wisdom. Studies on expertise show that masters in fields from chess to music often operate through intuitive pattern recognition rather than explicit reasoning. Research on mindfulness demonstrates how quieting conceptual thinking can enhance awareness and insight. Compassion and non-judgment. Compassion emerges as a central theme in the Tao Te Ching, constituting one of the three treasures, alongside simplicity and humility. The text presents a radical vision of non-judgmental acceptance. Chapter 49 states, "The master has no mind of her own. She works with the mind of the people. She is good to people who are good. She is also good to people who aren't good. This is true goodness." This challenging perspective suggests extending compassion universally rather than based on merit or moral evaluation. The text advocates extending this compassionate attitude to oneself as well. Chapter 13 explains, "Accept disgrace willingly. Accept misfortune as the human condition." What do I mean by accept disgrace willingly? Accept being unimportant. Do not be concerned with loss or gain. This is called accepting disgrace willingly. This self-acceptance forms the foundation for accepting others. Lao Tzu teaches that compassion flows naturally from recognizing the interconnectedness of all existence within the Tao. Chapter 67 identifies compassion as the first of the three treasures. "I have just three things to teach: simplicity, patience, compassion. These three are your greatest treasures. Simple in actions and in thoughts, you return to the source of being. Patient with both friends and enemies, you accord with the way things are. Compassionate toward yourself, you reconcile all beings in the world." This compassionate approach doesn't mean abandoning discernment, but transcending judgmental attitudes that create separation. By seeing ourselves in others and others in ourselves, we naturally extend care beyond artificial boundaries of in-group and out-group. Practical implementation strategies. Now that we've explored these profound concepts, let's examine how to apply them in daily life. These aren't just philosophical ideas, they're practical principles for living with greater wisdom. and less suffering. Practicing the Tao. 1. Cultivate stillness. Begin with just 5 to 10 minutes daily of sitting quietly, observing your breath and sensations without judgment. This simple practice helps you connect with the Tao's underlying stillness. Gradually extend this awareness into everyday activities, noticing the spaciousness beneath constant doing. 2. Develop T through authenticity. Instead of forcing virtue through rigid rules, focus on alignment with your genuine nature. Ask regularly, what would be my natural response if I weren't trying to impress or conform? Notice when you're acting from social pressure rather than inner integrity. Practice speaking and acting from your authentic center. 3. Apply Wu Wei to daily challenges. When facing obstacles, experiment with non-forcing approaches. Before pushing against resistance, pause and ask, is there a way to accomplish this by working with natural tendencies rather than against them? Look for the path of least resistance. Notice how often solutions emerge when you stop forcing outcomes. 4th, embody sage-like qualities. Practice completing tasks without claiming credit. Try resolving conflicts through listening rather than arguing. Experiment with leading by example rather than command. Each day, look for one opportunity to step back and allow a natural process to unfold without interference. 5. Embrace paradox and complementarity. When caught in either or thinking, practice both and awareness. Notice how apparent opposites contain and create each other. When feeling strong, acknowledge your vulnerability. When successful, recognize the role of failure in your achievement. This balanced perspective prevents extremes that lead to their opposites. 6. Simplify daily life. Identify one area of unnecessary complexity each week to simplify. This might mean clearing physical clutter, reducing digital distractions, simplifying your schedule, or eliminating unnecessary commitments. Ask regularly, what can I remove rather than add to improve this situation? 7. Apply Taoist leadership principles. Whether leading an organization, team, family, or just yourself, practice facilitative rather than controlling approaches. Experiment with providing minimal necessary guidance, then stepping back. Notice how often people thrive when given space to self-organize rather than being micromanaged. 8. Transform conflict through yielding. When conflicts arise, experiment with yielding rather than confronting directly. Practice the retreat a yard approach by validating others' perspectives before asserting your own. Look for win-win solutions that recognize the legitimate needs of all parties. Remember that sustainable resolution comes through harmony, not domination. 9. Balance knowledge with wisdom. Practice intellectual humility by regularly questioning your certainties. Complement information gathering with practices that cultivate direct awareness, like mindfulness, nature immersion, or artistic expression. Regularly ask, what do I need to unlearn to see more clearly? 10. Extend compassion without judgment. Practice extending care to yourself and others without requiring worthiness. When judgmental thoughts arise, observe them without attachment. Regularly reflect on your fundamental connection to all beings through the shared reality of the Tao. Practice seeing others as another myself. Conclusion. The Tao Te Ching offers a profound alternative to our culture's emphasis on doing, achieving, accumulating, and controlling. Its ancient wisdom speaks directly to our modern crises, offering a path of balance, simplicity, and harmony in a world of excess, complexity, and conflict. As we've explored, This remarkable text isn't just philosophical theory, but practical wisdom for everyday living. Its insights on the Tao, virtue, non-action, leadership, paradox, simplicity, conflict, knowledge, and compassion provide a comprehensive framework for navigating life with greater ease and less suffering. The beauty of the Tao Te Ching lies in its invitation to direct experience rather than abstract understanding. Its wisdom isn't meant to be merely comprehended but embodied. Each principle becomes a doorway to transformed perception and action. So what's your next step? I invite you to choose just one principle that resonated most strongly and commit to practicing it consciously for the next 30 days. Perhaps it's cultivating stillness through daily meditation. Maybe it's experimenting with wu-wei approaches to a persistent challenge, or perhaps it's simplifying one area of unnecessary complexity in your life. Additionally, I encourage you to read the Tao Te Ching itself. There are numerous excellent translations available. Stephen Mitchell's, Ursula K. Le Guin's, and David Hinton's are particularly accessible to modern readers. Don't rush through it. Read just one chapter daily, allowing its wisdom to percolate through your awareness and gradually transform your perception. Share your experiences in the comments below. How has the Tao Te Ching influenced your understanding? Which principle most resonates with your current life situation? What challenges have you encountered in applying this ancient wisdom? If you found value in this exploration, please subscribe for more discussions of timeless wisdom in modern contexts. Remember, as Lao Tzu teaches, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Your step toward greater harmony with the Tao begins now. Thank you for joining me on this journey through one of humanity's most profound wisdom texts. Until next time, may you find the way that cannot be told, your own authentic expression of the eternal Tao. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more wisdom and insight, and share this video with anyone who would enjoy it.